after leaving the church and Christianity, atheists and atheism helped me accept and helped me support a woman's right to abortion. And I believe that forcing a woman who doesn't consent to being pregnant is a type of bodily assault and is a violation of human rights or women's human rights. Now, many people listening to this will not agree with me, and honestly, you don't have to. Everyone has a right to believe or disbelieve any way they wish about anything. Everyone can believe and decide to abstain from doing something based on personal beliefs or their own convictions. For me, I think there is one issue that never gets discussed enough. There's a difference between not believing that abortion is wrong and not having an abortion yourself, and voting to take away every woman's right. Nobody has a right to take away anyone's rights unless they've been convicted of a crime. And every woman, every man, every child has a right to bodily autonomy. And this is what's so important. When you grow up in an environment like I did, where people believe that you have no bodily autonomy, that your body is owned by the church, by your father, by God, by anyone besides you. It's very similar to having your autonomy chipped away. Nobody has any right to take away somebody's rights. Whether it's the religion, philosophy, or just personal feelings. Nobody has a right to take away a woman's right to make decisions over her body. And just like when a woman is near death or is dying, nobody can touch her organs without a written consent. And if she doesn't have a written consent, then her close relatives can make that call. But yeah, nobody has a right to use someone's organs or body without consent from that individual. So, what's the difference between her organs and a baby? Nothing. If you can't steal someone's kidney, you can't force somebody to do something with their body they don't want to do. And it doesn't get any more real than this. Anyone who thinks they have the right to decide what another woman does with her body is an enemy to democracy. Anyone who believes that how they believe, what they believe, is more important than someone's autonomy, this is tyranny. Nobody has a right to vote away someone's rights, whether they're a woman, a man, or anybody. Women have a right to control their body and what they do with it. If they want to have a surgery so they never have kids, it's no one's business but her and her doctor. If a woman wants to have an abortion, that's her choice. If someone wants a cyst or a tumor removed, it's no one's business but her and her doctor. If someone doesn't want an invader in their body, whether it was something that came out of a consensual act or an unconsensual act, nobody has any right to force her to carry a child. And anyone, in my opinion, that believes they can control a woman's body is a villain. It's one of the most basic forms of being a human being. If somebody won't allow you to have 100% control over your body, they're a villain. cannot hold women's rights captive because you've decided in your head that you know more about a woman's body than she does. And if someone has a non-recessive order, where if they ever go into a coma or stop breathing, they don't consent to having resuscitation. You have to obey that order. Any doctor who resuscitates somebody with a non-resuscitation order is committing malpractice. So forcing a woman to continue carrying a baby she doesn't want is bodily assault. And I mean, how hard is it? And this is why I always say, if someone doesn't want to do something, you cannot make them do it. You just can't. Everyone has bodily autonomy. Now, if you've been convicted of a crime, you might have more limited autonomy, but even in prison, you have rights. You have expectations of being treated humanely, which is something that ICE and Trump's awful administration just can't seem to get through their thick heads. Women have a right to commit and have an abortion. Women have a right to use IVF, birth control, do anything they want. And that's why we have the FDA, to make things safe for people, or at least safer. And anyone who believes they know better than a woman about a female's body is a villain. Any religion, any philosophy, any institution or church that tells women how to use their body is a villain. Nobody has any right to tell a woman how to use her body. Nobody has a right to tell a man what to do with his body. Could you imagine if women created laws that controlled male reproduction and male virility? If men had to endure what women endure on a daily basis, men would lose it. But we never seem to want to regulate man's reproduction, even if he's a menace occasionally. But for some reason, men think they know better than women. They don't. Men have never known better than women do about women's bodies. And some of you out there couldn't choose the right words for female anatomy if your life depended on it. Women should decide what they do with their own body. Bodily autonomy says, I have a right to live, exist, and I have the right to decide when I no longer want to live. Even if that goes against people's beliefs or moral integrity. Everyone has a right to decide who uses their body, how their body functions, and what parts of their body is used for, whether it's inside them or taken out of them. If you can't take someone's kidney, and you can't push or force someone to be a surrogate against their will, you cannot force someone morally to remain pregnant or to get pregnant. And anyone who forces somebody to remain pregnant or get pregnant against their will is guilty of bodily assault. It's not rape, but it's rape adjacent. Men have no business being involved in things they can't understand, and unless they're part of a group that becomes a woman at some point, they have no right to make judgments about a group of people they'll probably never be or never experience. So, healthcare should be between a doctor and their patient. It should have nothing to do with the federal or state governments. And any Christian, Muslim, any religious person who thinks they have the moral hierarchy to decide what someone does with their body, they're not a good person. They're delusional. Women have the only say what happens to them. They can make good decisions, bad decisions, whatever. No man should ever make a decision about a woman's body. And women shouldn't either. Unless it's your body, shut the fuck up. I will never vote or legislate how a woman treats and uses her body. So, living in Alaska, if any bill comes through that I vote on that says a woman does not have a right to abortion, I will always vote no. I have no right to take away a woman's right to autonomy. It's bodily assault. And Christians think they're morally superior because they don't believe in abortion. But interesting fact, the biggest, most major denominations of Christianity actually supported abortion before Roe versus Wade passed. They then changed their mind to not being okay with it for financial and political reasons. So, yeah, forcing someone to get pregnant or to stay pregnant against their will is bodily assault. And anyone who thinks they have a right to take away someone's reproductive autonomy is a monster. And they're not a decent, good person. That's why I will never be a Republican. I want nothing to do with groups of people who majoritarily vote against women's autonomy. And hopefully someday, women and men realize and consistently vote to get these people out of political power and get these legislations against abortion out. We treat women like we do children, where they don't understand their own body. We gaslight women. We treat them as second-class citizens. And the majority of the politicians who vote against abortion have paid for their own abortions within their relationships. They're hypocrites. And women have a right to abortion. If you don't want to have abortion, fine. Nobody is forcing you to. And if your partner tries to force you to have one, that is a crime. Report them. But nobody should ever make you feel uncomfortable for not having an abortion. You have a right to abstain. You don't have any right from any God, any government, or any supercilious notion in your head that you have a right to take away someone else's choice. If it's not your choice or your body, shut the fuck up.